Mandy and I welcome you back to the 17th day of Lent. Today we are going to talk about how the Sanhedrin is planning to kill Jesus. Matthew chapter 26 verse 3 says, "Then the chief priests and the elders of the people assembled in the palace of the high priest, whose name was Caiaphas, and they plotted to arrest Jesus in some sly way and kill him. But not during the feast, they said, or there may be a riot among the people." Here's a good commentary on that. Again, Jesus predicted to his disciples that he would soon be handed over to be crucified. It would be a treacherous act by the Jewish chief priests and the elders of the people, led by Caiaphas, the high priest. They were determined to kill Jesus, so they conspired to arrest him. They wanted to avoid the Passover festival, to avoid rioting among the people. They hatched their plot in secret, thinking they were in control. But clearly, this is no surprise to Jesus. It was part of God the Father's plan to save sinners. Also, we read in Mark 14, "Now the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread were only 2 days away, and the chief priests and the teachers of the law were looking for some sly way to arrest Jesus and kill him. But not during the feast, they said, or the people may riot." So Mark is very similar to Matthew with that verse. In Mark 14 we read, "The Jewish leaders were determined to destroy Jesus, but they didn't want to do anything during the Passover and the festival of the unleavened bread. They feared a riot among the people because of Jesus' notoriety. They wanted things to proceed according to their timetable, but they were naive. Jesus had predicted that he would be crucified and rise from the dead in Jerusalem. God is sovereign. Everything proceeds according to his timetable." And then in Luke 22 we read again, "Now the feast of unleavened bread, called the Passover, was approaching, and the chief priests and the teachers of the law were looking for some way to get rid of Jesus, for they were afraid of the people." I love it how in 2 of the books they say that they were looking for a sly way, right? They weren't doing this on the up and up. And they're going to be doing it at night because they're trying to hide under the cover of darkness. I mean, you just think at this point, didn't one of those Pharisees stand up and say, "This isn't right, let's stop it, let's stop this nonsense, this isn't right"? But they went through with it. But like this commentary just said, it's good they did because this was God's plan, right? He wanted this to go through because this is the only way for Jesus to be killed, which then the blood would be shed, which would wash away our sins. So even though it seems like it's out of control, God was in control the whole time, using these people to carry out his kingdom plan. Now we're going to read about how Jesus prepared for his last Passover meal with his disciples. Matthew 26, 17-19. The Lord's Supper. On the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Where do you want us to make preparations for you to eat the Passover?" He replied, "Go into the city to a certain man and tell him, 'The teacher says, my appointed time is near. I'm going to celebrate the Passover with my disciples at your house.'" So the disciples did as Jesus had directed them and prepared the Passover. Matthew next recounts the events of the first day of unleavened bread, the 7-day festival celebrated in connection with the Passover. The Passover commemorates God's deliverance of the Israelites from slavery in Egypt. See Exodus 12. The Lord's final plague on the Egyptians claimed the life of every Egyptian firstborn, while the Israelites were spared by sacrificing a lamb and smearing its blood on the doorpost, so that the Lord would pass over them. During the following 7 days, they were to eat bread without leaven, in memory of their hurried departure from Egypt. Jesus Christ is our Passover lamb. Jesus told the disciples to meet a certain man in the city at whose place they would celebrate the Passover and to make preparations there. In the days leading up to this, he had predicted that he would suffer and be killed in Jerusalem. During the Passover meal, he revealed that one of them would betray him. We can also read about Passover preparations in Mark chapter 14. On the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, when it was customary to sacrifice the Passover lamb, Jesus' disciples asked him, "Where do you want us to go and make preparations for you to eat the Passover?" So he sent 2 of his disciples, telling them, "Go into the city, and a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him. Say to the owner of the house he enters, 'The teacher asks, where is my guest room where I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' He will show you a large upper room, furnished and ready. Make preparations for us there." The disciples went into the city and found things just as Jesus had told them, so they prepared the Passover. Wouldn't that be a cool assignment? Just go in and look for a man with a water jar and follow him. And he's the man. I mean, God just orchestrates everything just so perfectly. I love it. But it's so nice that that man offered his house as a place for them to celebrate the Passover. And what a special Passover for Jesus. They had been celebrating these the last couple years, but this was going to be his final one. I hope you enjoyed this today. A little sad about the Sanhedrin plotting to kill Jesus, but then you've got the Passover preparation. They're going to be really excited to be with Jesus one last time. And I know Jesus made this a very special Passover time for them. And I hope if you've never done a Passover meal, I've done some with some friends. It really is very symbolic. You should try one. It is really nice. So I hope you have a blessed day, my friends, and come back again tomorrow for more readings about Jesus' life leading up to his crucifixion and Easter. Have a blessed day. I would also love to answer any question you may have about how to put your faith in Jesus, the Christmas story, Easter story, anything at all. You can contact me through my website, which is nancyjoy2you. That's nancyjoy, the number 2, the letter u.com. You can also email me at nancyjoy2you@gmail.com. Hope to see you tomorrow.